Canada is not for sale. Mark Carney's shocking rebirth and the Trump earthquake that changed everything. The night Canada roared back. The moment was electric. Mark Carney stood in front of a Canadian flag, looked straight into the camera and said, "Mark Carney, America wants our land, our resources, our water, our country. Never." Those three words, America wants Canada, set off a political shockwave. A nation once sleepwalking through election fatigue had been jolted awake. Suddenly Carney wasn't just a technocrat, he was a wartime voice of defiance. But how did a soft-spoken economist become the man who revived a country's spirit? Because Donald Trump tried to claim Canada, and the country said no. What you'll learn in this story. This is the full breakdown of how Donald Trump's comments about annexing Canada sparked a nationalist revival. Mark Carney went from irrelevant to essential. The trade war broke Canada's dependence on the U.S., and the global order may never be the same again. The 51st state comment that set the North on fire? Trump didn't hint, he didn't suggest, he said it outright. Donald Trump said Canada only works as a state. That's why I call Trudeau Governor Trudeau. To Americans it might have been another Trumpism, loud, brash, theatrical. But to Canadians it was an act of verbal invasion. News outlets scrambled, social media exploded, hashtags like #Canada is not a state and #HandsOffCanada flooded every platform. To most politicians it was a crisis. To Mark Carney it was an opportunity. Mark Carney isn't your usual populist hero. He's a former Bank of Canada governor, former head of the Bank of England, and famously cautious. But when Trump escalated the trade war and began slapping tariffs on everything from lumber to aluminum, Carney came alive. While Trump shouted, Carney strategized. While Trump taunted, Carney educated. While Trump demanded loyalty, Carney called for sovereignty. He reminded Canadians that they weren't just a northern extension of America. They were a sovereign, globally respected economy with a legacy of their own. Carney offered calm in the storm. And Canadians clung to it. Only weeks ago, Carney's Liberal Party was in freefall. The polls were brutal. The Conservatives were planning their coronation. Then came Trump. By insulting Canada's independence, Trump united the fragmented left, brought centrists back into the Liberal fold, and even peeled off a few Conservatives who remembered why Canada wasn't the United States. One Republican lawmaker in the U.S. even admitted to Politico, "Honestly, if we just left Canada alone, the Liberals would have lost." Trump basically made them the Freedom Party overnight. Let's talk numbers, because Carney did. Canada sends nearly 85% of its exports to the United States. That's around $450 billion a year. When Trump slapped those new tariffs on Canadian goods, even a modest 20% drop in exports could mean a loss of $90 billion. Now think about the human cost. With an average salary of $80,000, that kind of hit could wipe out over 1 million Canadian jobs. That's not a recession, that's an identity crisis. Carney didn't flinch. He didn't sugarcoat. He told Canadians, "We need to stop depending on America, right now." In his victory speech, Carney didn't gloat. He didn't talk about beating the Conservatives or humiliating Trump. He talked about survival. We have many other options than the United States to build prosperity. Translation, it's time to pivot. Europe is waiting. The Asian Pacific is ready. Latin America is rising. And Carney, one of the most respected financial minds on the planet, has the connections to make those trade doors swing open. He's not just rebuilding Canada's economy, he's rewriting its foreign policy. Trump may have expected Canadians to cave, but what he got was the opposite. From coast to coast, people poured into the streets. Protesters waved maple leaves like they were battle flags. Handmade signs read, "Keep your hands off our home. Canada isn't your backup plan, maple syrup over MAGA." For a country often stereotyped as quiet and polite, the response was thunderous, not just anger but pride. Carney tapped into that emotional current, not by exploiting fear but by reminding Canadians what was at stake. The final word, the hinge moment. This isn't just about a political comeback, this is about a country reasserting itself in the face of attempted domination. For years, Canada rode sidecar to the U.S., on defense, on trade, on foreign policy, but with one careless comment and one escalating tariff, Trump knocked that car off course. Mark Carney grabbed the wheel. His message is now etched in the national psyche. We are over the shock of the American betrayal, but we should never forget the lessons. This was the moment Canada stopped whispering and started roaring. And in that roar, a leader was reborn. Thanks for watching.